It's a very deep episode, and I really felt when I was watching it, like the show really has arrived, and it is the show that I've, fallen in love with over the years.
And they kill clean. Don't let dames get in the way.
Honestly, Hank, where do you pick that stuff up?
FlynnsArcade.
Hi, this is FlynnsArcade, and this is my video about Season 1, Episode 12 of the Venture Bros, The Trial of the Monarch, with a special reference to this book here. Before I start, please can you do me a favour and give the video a like and subscribe to the channel. And now on with the video. I'm going to give a quick synopsis of the episode. I'm going to talk about any themes that I like, any character development I've noticed, any jokes particularly enjoyed, and finally I'm going to give the episode a rating out of 10. In this episode, the Monarch is on trial for disappearing a police officer. Evidence is given by various characters, which is shown in flashback sequences. We learn that the Monarch and Dr Girlfriend have split up, and that the Monarch is innocent for the crime he's accused of, and has actually been framed by Dr Girlfriend's ex, Phantom Limb. As to the themes of this episode, realism is quite a heavy theme. Some of the characters are incredibly realistic. The disappeared police officer and the court security guards and the judge all look like reasonable people, like realistic people that you might meet. However, this is contrasted with the fantastic abilities of the Guild of Calamitous Intent. They have a freeze gas which can knock out everyone in the courtroom. And they've got mind-wiping abilities.
For everyone else, I want a level 3 memory wipe.
And they also have the abilities to persuade a supermodel to marry a person they've never even met before.
Even got you a new wife. You won't see her much being a supermodel. She'll be traveling a lot.
So they really are quite powerful. They're quite a paranoid, sinister organisation. Jackson Public and Doc Hammer wrote this episode as a kind of, after they wrote the finale of Season 1, and it serves as a kind of prequel to explain all the events of the next episode. By putting all the focus of this episode onto the Monarch and the Guild of Calamitous Intent, we really get an impression about how vast the Ventureverse actually is, and also it's a window into how the various characters and various professional bodies in the Ventureverse intersect with each other. Since I've been making this YouTube series, and I've been following all the different episodes throughout Season 1, this is the first episode I've seen that contains all the complex lore that I know and love of the Venture Brothers. It's a very deep episode, and I really felt when I was watching it, like the show really has arrived, and it is the show that I've, fallen in love with over the years. As to the character development of this episode, the Venture family don't get a huge amount of it because they're not the focus of the episode, but we do have this amazing conversation between Brock and Hank.
Guild works clean, professional. It's surgical with them. In a way, they're the only organization I still respect.
And they kill clean. Don't let dames get in the way.
Honestly, Hank, where do you pick that stuff up? I never see you read.
It's weird, right?
It's like he channels dead crazy people.
You think it's a cry for help?
In this conversation, we get to see, firstly, how Brock's very complex relationship with the Guild of Calamitous Intent and the various professional bodies that he interacts with. The fact that he says the Guild's the only body that he actually respects at this point, it shows that his relationship with his own employer is not good at the moment. And it also has Hank's comment. We've seen evidence that Hank's got a bit of a screw loose before.
We are not going anywhere! When I chose this neighborhood to open my first Hanko's Lemonade and Grinder World, I knew the consequences. When these riots are over, we are going to rebuild! As God is my witness, I will not let my people down!
But in this episode, it really comes out, and that quote has just lived in my mind ever since then. I think about it on a fairly regular basis. Dr. Venture, we often think of him as being a bit of a negligent parent, but in this episode, he actually shows some real responsible parenting techniques. The way he gets the boys to leave the court so that they don't get exposed to the X-rated evidence given, that shows a bit of responsibility.
Your Honor, I have children listening to this potty talk. Sustained. I want that last bit stricken from the record. And my mind. Dr. Venture, you might want to take your sons out.
Oh, not me. There's no way I'm going to miss this.
I mean, the fact that he stays in and lets Brock take the boys out, that kind of makes me think it's not that responsible, but at least he's trying. The main character development in this episode comes from the Monarch. Throughout Season 1, we've noticed the gradual deterioration of the relationship between him and Dr. Girlfriend, and in this episode we see that they are finally split up. Dr. Girlfriend also gets a lot of character development in this episode because we learn about her complex backstory.
Well, I'm nobody's doormat. Before I met him, I was Lady Au Pair. I was feared, and I was respected. And not just by my murderous moppets, by everyone. And after that, I was...
Queen Etheria.
The fact she was shacked up with Phantom Limb and she was Queen Etheria. The fact that she had another past occupation as Lady Au Pair and with the murderous Moppets. You know, it shows she really is starting to become a fully fleshed out character in this episode. The Guild of Calamitous Intent, you know, they're really fleshed out in this episode. That they've got a shadowy leader that we see for the first time.
Many of our operatives are in place. We await your orders.
Good. Good. Let us proceed to stage 5. And
we also meet their full-time officers, Watch and Ward, who initially seem quite terrifying, but when we see them talking to each other, they really aren't. It's the Ventureverse after all.
Knew it. I thought you went to the can.
I did, I'm back.
That was like 10 seconds ago. What are you, pissing in the corner?
Apparently some of the dialogue between those two, it just came up with some of the, you know, conversation between Doc Hammer and Jackson Public that they thought was pretty funny. I mean, to be honest, a lot of the dialogue where you get two characters in the Ventureverse comes out of their conversations, but you know, it's just quite funny seeing these hyper competent, really serious people talking about juice boxes and stuff like that. It's really good. And we're also introduced to a totally new character, Tiny Attorney.
Your Honor, I have some experience with these, what you might call, supervillain types.
Who's done something, I don't know what it is, but it's been sufficient to invoke the ire of the Guild of Calamitous Intent. A lot of the humour in this episode comes courtesy of Dr. Venture because he consistently shouts out sarcastic comments throughout the trial.
If I reach behind your ear, it will not be a nickel I pull out, but your very soul!
Good night, ladies and gentlemen. You've been a great crowd.
And then his running commentaries really adds a lot to the episode. A special mention as well is to the Monarch's various outbursts, especially this one that I'm going to play now, and it's the thing that got the boys removed from the court.
Put it on. I want to see you in it again.
I can't believe you saved it. What are these hard chunks?
My tears.
Tears? You have to be kidding me! You know that sick, deformed slob. You know he was pounding his invisible meat all over the
Objection!
I also enjoyed a visual gag where Hank and Dean and Brock noticed that there was something quite wrong with the court security guards. I mean, looking at them, one has a bionic arm and the other one, he appears to be wearing some sort of gas mask. It's like a full metal gas mask of sorts, and so they look really strange, and it's just quite funny because the boys were removed from the court to ostensibly look for clues and investigate things, and they were messing around with looking at chewing gum on a drinking fountain and stuff like that.
There's gum in this fountain! Our first clue!
It seems our thirsty mystery man was a gum chewer.
And they failed to notice that there was something really very wrong with these security guards, and it's just quite funny that it just shows that their giant boy detective skills really are not that great. I quite enjoyed that. As the start of the episode, it is a bottle episode with all the drama being shown, well, most of the drama anyway, being shown in flashback sequences as each of the unreliable narrators get up to give evidence and as part of the Monarch's trial. The most unreliable of the narrators is Hank and Dean, who open the episode with a fantastic sequence where they talk about being able to read Sanskrit.
Mecha Shiva! Mecha Shiva! Go!
They turn into an Autobot, and yeah, what else? And oh yeah, and they discover their it looks like they're searching for treasure, but it's actually like their own rainy day craft box.
We have to you likely the opening now of this chest. to all that protect mine rainy day craft box.
The style of that sequence, it's done in a much more like cinematic way than what we're used to with the Venture Brothers, and it really stands out. And it's a really strange cold open to the episode, because you think you look at the title of the episode and then you see it being this adventurous sequence and the Monarch looking weird and the boys looking weird, and you really are thrown into the action. And like the Mecha Shiva sequence, it is like a really sort of famous scene from the Venture Brothers, and yeah, so that's pretty good. There's a lot of name dropping in this episode. Two members of the jury are actually, it's a depiction of Doc Hammer and Jackson Public. The show creator, the show's composer, J.J. Thirlwall, he's also mentioned as somebody in the Monarch's tell-all memoir.
And here's one of you skinny dipping with Jim Fetus.
So that's like three very fundamental creators of the Ventureverse are actually just literally in this episode as characters, which is quite strange. There are also a lot of references in this episode, and it's quite difficult to remember them all, but I'll try to mention a couple of them. There's a couple of illustrators mentioned. One of them is Frank Fazetta, who's responsible for designing the Queen Etheria suit.
Look at your costume! Why did Frank Fazetta design it for you? It's tiny!
Or the Monarch accuses him of designing it. And Tom of Finland is also mentioned in relation to the sexy disappeared police officer.
So why don't you put your fat Tom of Finland ass back on your big gay bike and go home?
There's a couple of experimental musicians mentioned, like Lydia Lunch and Steve Baters are said to have made out with the Monarch at Danceteria.
Well, here's one of me at Danceteria, making out with Steve Baters and Lydia Lunch.
And there's some references to popular culture too. There's a very low-key reference to the the horror film Carrie.
I can see your dirty pillows.
And there's also a reference to the film The Evil Dead.
Well, if you don't mind, sir, I have a book of my own for this little ritual. Keep your fingers clear of its mouth.
I didn't know what Dr. Orpheus's book was, but I'm a member of a Venture Brothers fan group, and somebody very recently pointed out to me that that's the Necronomicon from The Evil Dead. There's also a reference to the TV show Chips. Because the disappeared police officer's called Officer Puncharello, which is a character from there.
Officer Puncharello.
And that's not the last time that show is going to be mentioned in the Venture Brothers. So finally, I'm going to give this episode a 9 out of 10. I would have given it a top mark, but it's got one reason why I've not done it. It's a strange decision, because it's actually one of my favourite ever episodes of the Venture Brothers, like out of the whole the Venture Brothers. I absolutely love it. It was the first one I saw that really got my imagination going, when I learned all about the guilds and like what powers they've got. Like, I started to think, wow, this show is much bigger than I initially thought it was. It started to take it really seriously with this episode. Whilst researching for this video, I've watched this episode like several times. I usually watch them a couple of times when I'm researching, but this one I actually must have seen it about 5 times, because I had to keep watching it and watching it and watching it. And that's partly the reason why I've not given it a top score, because even Jackson Public admits in the book that the episode is very confusing, and it is confusing. When I saw the show like way back in the day, I always just thought, oh well, the whole Trial of the Monarch, it's just because Phantom Limbs set up the Monarch so that he can go to prison, so that he can get back with Dr. X's girlfriend. But now I'm not too sure that was what was going on. Now I think, because it seemed that the Guild were there to arrest Tiny Attorney.
Finally, number 3 on the Guild's most wanted list. Tiny Attorney. It's time the Guild sentences him to a trial separation. I just made that up.
It's funny on a lot of levels.
And so now I'm thinking, what had Tiny Attorney done that, invokes such ire from them? And I still don't know. I can't figure it out. So I don't know if I need to wait to find out, or whether it wasn't quite made explicit enough in the episode. I just don't know. So because of that, it's sort of I just see this episode as a flawed masterpiece, and so yeah, unfortunately I can't give it a full 10 out of 10 as much as I'd like to. So that's all from me. Please let me know if you agree with me. Please can you let me know what is going on with Tiny Attorney, and if I just missed something like in the episode, and you know, have I missed any references? Because like I say, there was a lot and I've tried to get as many of them in that I can, but I'm sure there was a bunch of stuff that I did that I just didn't mention, because like this episode is so packed with so many things, so many plot devices and so many like shout outs and stuff like that. And so yeah, if you can comment like Go Team Venture, that really does help, because you know I'm a new channel and so it will help with the algorithm. So please could you drop me one of those if you can. So that's all from me. If you haven't already, please can you give my video a like and subscribe to the channel. And unless something comes up in the meantime, I will see you next Sunday.